We really didn't discuss the bigger news, the big news story coming out of the week for 2311. So I just want to say, Eric Almirola, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. I hate the way that you sneak this. If y'all catch fights, gonna be direct. We hate, and I'm gonna stop. And notice I ain't just say we. It's not just me. I'm what the culture feeling. I hate you, bro. If I see you, and we some furniture moving. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is former NASCAR driver Bill Lester.
I'm NASCAR driver Natalie Decker.
NASCAR's chief hype officer Mamba Smith.
And you're listening to Victory Lane.
Victory Lane.
Victory Lane Vibes. Let's go.
Okay. Look, you're the captain. Don't ask me for advice.
It's your storage.
I'm delete that shit tomorrow morning. What you mean?
Lord God.
All right.
Welcome to another episode of Victory Lane Vibes. We are your hostesses with the mostesses. There's a lot of hosts this week. It's Jared and Art, and Kiana and Bonte. And we have a special guest. Peyton joins us from the great land of what's Tennessee known for, Peyton?
We got a winning college baseball team. So that's our highlight.
Go Vols.
Balls. We'll get you figured out. We'll coach you up.
That's what I said.
You said bowls.
Bubba would have to drag you for that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you going to root for Bubba and not,
Bubba would have to drag you for that.
Here we go. We're 2 minutes in. We already
already messing up.
Already messing up. But with that, Peyton, you got to get indoctrined into the Hall of Fame. So tell us how long you've been a fan, your favorite NASCAR memory, who you root for.
Wow. So when you told me I had to figure out how long I was a fan, I actually had to get my phone out and get to the calculator. I first started watching in 1995, which my phone says has been 29 years. I'm going to be dead soon. Yeah, so watched NASCAR about 95 and then got into F1 about 03, 04 and then IndyCar in about 2010, 2011. Favorite NASCAR memory? Man. In terms of watching on TV, the Bubba Wallace win in 2022 was just fantastic, just because it was a great race for him, start to finish. Just drove extremely well. In terms of in person, I'd probably say last year's Darlington. He's had some great performances at Darlington that I've got a chance to watch live that have been fantastic. And then I guess non-Bubba type races. 98 Dale Earnhardt, watching that win on TV. That was special. So I actually wrote a book report on, not a book report, but gave a report in class about it. That's how much of a dork I was. So, and then who I root for? Yeah, NASCAR, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, just because, a lot of fun to root for him. Great day yesterday. Keeps crashing. And then, Formula One, Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, looking for another driver to root for in that series, but none of them really do much for me. So, going to have a difficult time after he's done Ferrari. So, yeah.
You're very seasoned, very seasoned race fan. You're well rounded. Lots of disciplines.
I try to be. I really don't like having free time on weekends. I just want to make sure I got nothing else to do except being plastered on the damn couch.
Yeah, I was going to say your DVR probably hates you.
Oh, it gets worn out.
Well, with that, let's get into it, shall we?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's once again your least favorite podcast host. I know, I'm still salty about it. Hey, so we just finished up Nashville a couple hours ago. What a race. It didn't disappoint. This whole weekend didn't disappoint, actually. Kyle Busch is still in hell, apparently. Very glad I'm not on the show this week because I certainly would have a tirade about that. Richard Childress, you will not see mercy from me. It's on site, I promise you. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get down to business. I'm ready to talk to you guys about our good friends over at Home Field Apparel. You know, a lot of drivers run out of fuel today during the Cup race, but I tell you who hasn't run out of fuel. Our friends over at Home Field. Not only do they have all these motorsport collections we've talked to you guys about, the Aero McLaren, the Indy 500 collection, the Hendrick Motorsports collection, they also have been adding product lines to the vintage collegiate side, what they do at the heart of what they do. They've had baseball and softball pullovers that look phenomenal. They've got the two-tone collegiate program hats, the dad hats, if you will, that look amazing. I'm telling you, I'm having more Home Field packages come to my house than I probably should. In any case, guys, head over to the website, homefieldapparel.com. They got an app too. Check it out. Get something. Hey, take 15% off on us, right? Use our code VLV24, 15% off your first order. Tag us on Twitter. Let us know what you got. Anyway, I got to get back on the road. I let these guys talk about whatever. I'm sure it's not that interesting. I miss y'all. I'll be back soon. Toodles.
So first, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention this because we definitely skipped it last week. Shout out to Antron Brown. Shout out the whole Matco Tools team. Shout out Allison. Me and Art were down at Dinwiddie for the NHRA race last weekend. Thoughts and prayers to the Force family. John's doing a little bit better. He's more responsive. So we'll soon John Force. That was scary. But we completely, of all the shenanigans that happened last week, we completely forgot that. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to Matco. Hope we can see y'all again soon at another drag strip here shortly. Yeah, let's talk about some circles. The whole entire industry was in Nashville this weekend for Nashville. The truck race Friday night. Christian Eckes started third and never saw any position less than first ever again, sweeping all the stages, winning the race in dramatic yet sleepy fashion. We'll start with Kiana. Kiana had the pleasure of being out in Nashie all weekend. So we'll start with you.
Pleasure. I don't know if I say
our
pleasure.
number one voted host,
Oh,
Kiana Davis herself. How was the truck race?
I mean, I'll say this. I think I like the truck race better than Xfinity. I will say that. But yeah, like nobody was seeing Christian. Like he was gone. That was pretty much all that happened. I mean, once he was out there, he was out there. Like you really didn't even see a lot of like position battles or, just like anything really. So it turned into more of like all the people around me were just like getting to know each other and like talking during the race because there was not much to watch on the track, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, he was just in front the whole time. So there was not much to say. Shout out to Butterbean because he did pretty good. It was cool to see him out there. I wish I had a chance to go say hi to him. And then Frankie was there too, so that was cool. It's cool seeing him out there. But yeah, it was kind of unfortunate that like, you have people like that out there and then there's just not much happening. So that was kind of disappointing to me because I really wanted to see them like get in the mix and it didn't really happen. So yeah, it kind of felt like you were just watching them go in circles. There really wasn't much to see, which was disappointing. But the cool thing is after the truck race, they do have the track walk. So we did do that. So that was fun. It's cool to just like, walk on the track, see the burnout marks. People were like picking up rubber from the track and it was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there really wasn't much to like report on, unfortunately.
Peyton, I know you said you saved a PTO day. Did you have an opportunity to watch the race?
I did. And honestly, yeah, I was happy to see Raja. I'm going to mess up. I call him Roger. I have no idea why. I'm weird when it comes to names. I'm just going to call him Roger. And I'm like, I'm gonna mess up and call him Roger, but anyway, thought he had a great run.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know if he could have gotten to track position, whether he could have held up in the lead, but still he needed a good finish. The biggest thing that stood out to me was Lane Riggs and Parsons. That was a spectacular. Did you get a chance to see any of that, Kiana? Them just tussling back and forth, lap after lap, until eventually they just wrecked both themselves. And they had to
A little, yeah. I mean, that was
Lane
like
for like 2 laps. That's old school punishment. I like that.
Yeah, that was like the only thing that really, people were like, "Oh, something happened." Like, everyone kind of finally stopped and like paid attention, because other than that, I mean, nothing really happened during the race. But yeah, the whole Lane Riggs thing, and then they get him for like reckless driving, and people were like, "What? Like, that's crazy."
I've not seen that in years. Like, does anyone remember, like, when's the last time we've seen a driver like parked mid-race just for being like, "Hey, that was just really stupid. We gotta put you aside." Like,
they posted it, and I can't remember who was it. I don't remember who it was.
Carson.
Was it Carson? It was like a couple years ago, wasn't it, Carson?
I know Seth had a chart of all like the drivers who retaliated. Yeah, but it was Carson. I forgot. Corey Howard, one of those two. I may be wrong. 2022.
So, like, actually during a race, like, there's some recent precedent for a 2-lap penalty.
It was something like that, yeah. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, it was just a really weird situation. But yeah, I mean, that was like the only noteworthy thing that really happened was that, because everybody was just confused. Like, did they just say reckless driving? Like, that's.
Well, the wild thing was Lane had a hurt car before that, so I'm surprised he kept fighting with Parsons, who that's a part-time ride. If I was Riggs, I was like, "Hey, I've got a full sponsored truck. I need a good finish. Let me get it back to them.
Yeah,
like get it fixed." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna get in a fight with this part-timer." And yeah,
it was wild. Yeah. So. I guess they were bored too. I don't know. It's like that's the only explanation I have, is they were bored in the trucks, just like nobody's passing anybody. Like, "Hey, I'm gonna do something, spice it up." I don't know. That was weird. But yeah, that was literally the only time that I remember people actually like paying attention to the race, to be totally honest.
Bonte.
It was mid. This was really mid. I'm be honest. Happy for the Raj. Got a really good finish for him. Him and Corey Haim had that battle towards the end. Respect toward them. But yeah, we were just mid. Besides Lane, Carson's regular driving. That's it.
Art, your take?
Yeah, I think this race was Jared said it off air. It was just an old-fashioned ass whooping, right? Like, it just seemed like nobody had anything for him, and some weeks it's like that. And thankfully that's not a common problem in NASCAR, but a couple weekends out of the year you just get it where there's one group's just dialed in. To Bonte's point, I'm really happy for Raj. I feel like this is their first good run in a while. I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks maybe since they had a top 10, I want to say. So hopefully, they figured something out and were able to get back on track. So that was the only real highlight for me were those two notes. I like seeing a big Frankie Muniz fan. I love the fact that he's such a diehard racing fan and he's living out a dream. He may not be the most talented, but he's able to go out there and compete. And I know he's had a lot of bad luck lately. So just seeing him get out there and compete, and I think he ended up getting caught in something late in the race, but he completed most of the laps. That was another highlight for me. But yeah, I mean, this was kind of a one-man show with a bunch of background players this week. And hey, it happens. I wasn't sitting out there in the heat, thankfully, so I wasn't too upset. And if I paid a ticket to be out there, I'd be heated in more than one way. I'll put it that way.
That was my issue. It's like, you got to pay to be there. It's hot. I can't bring a cooler in.
Right.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I will say, like I said, the track walk was really fun. So, like, I enjoyed that because we stayed out there for about 30, 45 minutes. Like, we were just chilling out there. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, it's like, you pay all that money for a race and there's not much to the race. Like, it was more fun being in the fan zone going around getting free stuff than watching the race. I almost went back out there just to like do something. Honestly.
I was surprised, and I don't know whether we're going to discuss this when we get to like the Xfinity Cup race, but I was really surprised how I'm going to make it unracy that track was, because the reason why I keep going back to Nashville is it's put on at least somewhat interesting. I mean, the first 2021 that was kind of a stinker, but like especially the truck race, it was put on some decent performances, and the Xfinity had done some decent performances. And the thing was the groove tended to move around, but it seemed like they just really couldn't put anything together. So I was surprised. Like I know they did resin from top to bottom in the corners this time around. I don't know whether they've done that differently in years past. I know they've applied resin, but maybe they put it in specific areas, like they put it up around the top or something like that.
See, I couldn't get to the corner. I wish I could have. They didn't let us down that far. I wish I could have gone down there.
Yeah, this year I know with the resin they did the entire top to bottom on the corner, nothing on the straight. So I don't know if that affected it, but yeah, it seemed like compared to previous years, the racing wasn't as exciting as what I traditionally see from that place.
Yeah, that was kind of how I felt, like from what I was expecting to what I watched, especially with trucks, because I mean we've said it on the show a bunch of times. Like trucks and Xfinity have been cooking Cup competition for a while, and this is like one of very few races where Cup just completely trumped all the other ones, because there were so many good moments in Cup yesterday versus like maybe one or two each in trucks and Xfinity this weekend, and that was really surprising to me. So yeah, there was something different this year, and I couldn't really figure out what it was, but it felt different for trucks and Xfinity, which is strange.
Very good. Well, there was a snooze fest Friday night. Saturday, not so much. There was John Hunter Nemechek sighting in Victory Lane, but not before Justin Allgaier got his lick back on Ty Gibbs, spinning him, and I wouldn't say ruining his day, but made sure that he didn't finish anywhere near the front like he was supposed to. Noah Gregson finished 5th. A.J. Allmendigger finished 7th. Allgaier 8th. Cole Custer 9th. Sam Mayer 10th. Honorable mention goes to Tyler Reddick in the SHR car, finishing 14th. But John Hunter Nemechek is only successful in Xfinity. Foreshadowing.
No comment. Oh boy, that heat had them acting up. That was part of it. I've never in my life felt heat like that. Just everything was hot. It just felt like everything was on fire. Honestly, that's how bad it was.
It was so brutal. Last year I went to this and I did the Cup qualifying, Cup practice, Xfinity, everything. And when I got back to my hotel that evening, like I had a migraine style headache. Like I was pretty certain I had like early stage symptoms of what a heat stroke would feel like. It was awful. This year was just as bad in terms of how bad it was in terms of heat. Luckily this time I had access through work with the one of the car that we sponsor. So I was able to go inside. There was a AC. It was High Rock Vodka's sort of party plaza or whatever they called it. Yeah. I just camped out there as soon as the green flag dropped. Like I did the driver meet and greet and everything. Got a lot of photos, and I just went in there and just relaxed in the AC, charged my phone, and just kept realizing like I smell so bad because I've been out there sweating nonstop. Yeah, as a fan experience, that infield was.
You could tell who did not take a shower that morning. It was very obvious.
It might have been me. Yeah, you might have been smelling me. I took one that morning, but I apparently should have taken a longer one. But yeah, once again,
they need a deodorant sponsor next year. Someone needs to be there giving out free deodorant because
agree.
Ooh, it was rough. I would just be walking through the fan zone and you just get that whiff of something and like, ooh, somebody just smells spicy. I'm like, you can go back to the car, put some on, please. Yeah. I don't know. Lebanon, y'all got to figure it out. Like, there's got to be some sort of boundary. Like, if the heat index crosses 100, y'all really just got to let the coolers in. Like, it's stupid.
I felt bad on Twitter because there were a few people who were rightfully just going after the track's policy, which I don't think is necessarily a track policy because it's owned by it's owned by SMI.
City.
I was gonna say it's city. And a lot of people saying like you can't bring anything in, they won't allow food and everything. So I'd actually already gone because I've been studying this, for the past 4 years now, like what you can bring in, what you can. And I'd put out some clarification like, okay, you can bring in water, you can freeze it. Because there are some people saying you can only bring in empty containers and everything.
No, you can bring water because I had a whole bunch and they didn't say nothing.
How much focus did they put on the temperature and everything? Because I saw that a lot of drivers were having issues with their cool suits failing.
Yeah.
How much focus or emphasis did the broadcast, put onto? Because I remember at Texas last year. The Texas last year they were putting a lot of emphasis on. What was TV talking about during that Xfinity race? Because overall, I was wasn't a barnstormer. I thought the last 5 laps were interesting, but what were they talking about on TV?
Yeah, I feel like they didn't make too much of a point of emphasis this year. I know they mentioned it a few times, I think early in the broadcast, but it wasn't something that they went back to early and often. They would say, things like it's going to be hot and the track's going to be slick, like things like that, but they never really brought any attention to it. And I wonder some of the negative social media press that the track got around its policy may have been a reason why TV was kind of nudged. Hey, maybe don't talk about this. Maybe don't make this a storyline. I mean, I could be making this up completely, but they didn't really make a huge deal out of it. I don't think they wanted to try to glamorize it or anything like that.
Yeah.
At least that's the impression that I got.
Because who's it? Riley had to have his suit drained during the race because his cooling suit had failed. And you can't, if it does fail, you need to drain it pretty much as soon as possible because otherwise you're just driving around with hot water and it's just getting hotter and hotter.
I heard Gregson popped out of the car and looked relatively fresh against all odds. The dude who was known for puking after every race, comes out looking fresh and is like, "What are you guys talking about? I can do another 250 of that." And then pops in the car and does it again on Sunday. So good on him. Whatever life changes he made, I guess maybe he decided to switch drinking White Claw with just regular tap water or something, but good for him.
You can tell he's definitely taking that part of it more seriously, which is good, and he should. I think all of them should, but like that endurance training, the stuff that they do, putting them in the sauna, and who was that talking about that on Sunday? I think it was Carson. Might have been Carson Hosvar. It may have been Ricky Stenhouse. I can't remember. But they were talking about you go work out and then, go into a sauna that's like 160 degrees for a little bit and, kind of simulate being exhausted while also dealing with the heat. Like that really does make a difference. So seems like more of them are taking advantage of that, but that was definitely the test yesterday. So I don't know how they do it. That's why I will never, regardless of who the driver is, I will always defend them as athletes because not everybody could survive that. Like that is... especially Saturday, that was you're in a car that's like 170 degrees and your cooling suit has failed. Like that's insane. So shout out to everybody who just kind of stuck through that because that was rough.
Bonte, what'd you think of the Xfinity race?
Weird.
Expand on that. What you mean?
That's it. It's a weird
opening, grand closing. All right.
Wonderful. Art, your thoughts?
And how am I supposed to follow that up? This was an interesting race. I think the biggest highlight we didn't really talk about too much was the whole Allgaier and Ty Gibbs little run in. That was a bit of a surprise. Allgaier. I have to choose to believe unless something else comes out that Allgaier, it was an accident or he got him air loose or something, because this is not a guy who's known for wrecking people. This is not a guy who's really known for dumping people, I don't think. So I could be wrong, but I just don't know of any instances off the top of my head where he would go out of his way to dump a guy, especially a guy he doesn't have any beef or history with. It seemed like they were just running around together, and he got him loose. But
Could you try again?
all in all, it's really solid race. Happy to see Justy Love get another good finish. I feel like he's kind of been in a lull the last couple of weeks, so to get a third place is great for him. And John Hunter just keeps showing up and running really well in Xfinity. So I'm not really surprised too much by him at this point when it comes to Xfinity. I feel like right now he shines there. It's when he gets to the Cup Series that he's a bit of an also ran right now. But yeah, it was good. I think it was a good race overall. Noah had a really good run. And to Peyton's point, was fresh afterwards. Came back and raced again the next day. So Sam got a top 10, which is great. The only guy I would like to have seen done better was probably Shane. I think he finished 15th, if I remember correctly, which isn't a bad day.
He got top 15. He's doing
I'd
good.
like to see him get closer to the top 10 some of these tracks. But yeah, this was a solid race. But I mean, it was only an appetizer for the main course that was Sunday and all the calamity that was to follow, foreshadowing.
Man, if you thought Saturday was fun. So Sunday started off cool, you know what I'm saying? Stage 1, everybody was minding their P's and their Q's for the most part. And then there was a lot of, and I guess probably Peyton and Keanu, y'all at the track, y'all could probably expand on it, but it seemed like there was a bit of strat stage 1, because it looks like the field got flipped a couple times, which led to Christopher Bell getting the stage win and Bubba finishing 10th. Looks like there was some differing of opinions on tire strategy during the first stage. In the second stage, what Roscoe Dash say? Rain, go away. That's what all my haters say. I was a hater. I was hating. I was mad. I'm glad it rained because y'all were there and y'all were hot. But,
it was hot. I honestly, you know what? Compared to Charlotte, where we were like, okay, this is stupid. This rain was probably the best rain I've ever felt. We needed it because it was hot again.
But it came like
it
3
came at a
hours
stupid
after
time.
I was going to say, why couldn't it have done that at the green flag? Like, it made us sit through the hottest part of the day. Like, we were sort of near the payoff when that rain came through.
That was the craziest part. It was supposed to, and it didn't materialize, and I was mad because it was supposed to rain right before the race started, and that never happened.
Yeah,
so this system came in late, and I was just like, "Oh, dang it!"
Supposed to get nighttime Nashville for the Cup Series.
Exactly. I was walking around like, "Oh, don't worry, it's gonna rain." And my wife was like, "Why aren't you concerned?" I was like, "No, they got lights. It's gonna be perfect. Got my hotel for the next day, so I can stay as late as I need to." Rain stage 2, and so just sitting there baking all day.
It messed it up.
Yeah.
So those of who were in attendance got treated to a free sauna.
Literally
free roasting.
The race resumed. Christopher Bell also wins stage 2, and then all hell breaks loose. Noah Gregson had the bright idea to wreck Austin Cindric, causing the field to go into overtime not once, not twice, not thrice.
I'm blaming my baby. He didn't do that.
Damn times. 5 times in overtime.
Free Austin Cindric.
All of you idiots knowing
that had me stressed out.
You low on gas should have pitted, ruined the 23's race. Bubba should have won that race. I'm saying it now. I'm gonna say it again in 23-11 corner. But all of that for Joey Logano to win for the 13th straight year. He gets a sticker on his car, automatically advancing himself into the playoffs. Zane Smith finished 2nd. Tyler Reddick finishes 3rd. And I'm going to pass the mic to Peyton for him to tell us how Sunday went.
So Sunday, once again, just super hot overall, but playing for that. The race, the first stage was not too dramatic. Once again, really thought the track would be more racy, being as hot and greasy as it was. I need to go back and try to figure out where the resin was applied last year. I didn't care. I was having a great time because I had my scanner on, and Bubba was ripping through the field. Like, I was posting in a group chat saying Bubba's got that look in his eye. He wants it today. Top 10 easy all day. and it was great. Like, that's the fun thing about attending a race in person, especially if your particular driver is having a nice day. It could be the most boring thing, but I'm just sitting here like, hell yeah, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Had a great car. Going into the second stage, the car was okay. And then after that rainstorm came through, which appreciate you, by the way, telling me how big that cell was. I was not certain whether it was one where I need to go back to the car or I needed to just hang out underneath. Hung out underneath, was able to sneak out because I knew it was going to be a lightning strike. So as soon as I saw that caution come out, I knew what it was. Got myself a pretzel, camped out under the bleachers. It was a beautiful strategy. I didn't get a drop on me. It's fantastic.
Lucky
and then,
you.
I mean, it's just, I seek out food wherever it can happen, and I seek out short lines. And those two things just came together like Voltron, and it was just beautiful. And so anyway, they get that race back going, track dried extremely quickly. Bubba was nowhere, just plowing tight. He's definitely gotten a lot better on what he will do over the radio, because he had every reason to blow up. And then what surprised me was, at least it was not expressed over the main channel, Booty didn't put any adjustments into it. I'm not certain whether he was trying to avoid just taking too big of a swing or he didn't think it was necessary. But even after that first adjustment, that first pit stop after the rain breaks, still was plowing tight. They made some swings. I think I put it in there, was wedge, air pressure, and something about the stagger. I'm not certain how that factors in, because one would assume that the stagger is sort of already set, but I guess maybe they can up the stagger. I guess if they can pick and choose what tires they want to go with. And it seemed to get a bit better. And then the big break for them was, by being in dead last, they were able to flip the field when that caution came out, where essentially they didn't need to go grab fuel again, and then they could eke out that fuel mileage. So it was a sort of topsy-turvy day. And like I said, Denny Hamlin had one of the best cars of the day. Seabell had a great car, lost it without contact. Bonte, you probably need to defend your driver on that. Seems to happen from time to time with him. And overall, it was really satisfying to see Bubba get a top 10 at that track. I feel like that track owes him some. And of course, when it happens, it only happens to just be in a circumstance that knocks him out of the dang playoffs. So yeah, even when a good day for Bubba swings around, it actually kind of ends up being a net negative, because with Joey winning, now he's 50 points to the cut line. He's in a tight spot. So we'll see. Hopefully this will allow him to just gamble every time. So at least every weekend will be exciting, if not depressing. But overall, how hard was it? Did they give you enough warning when they had to switch from NBC to USA? Did they give you plenty of warning for that? Or was it just like, hey, by the way,
it was really weird. It was like 13 minutes.
I like 10, 15 minutes.
It was again. It was like, all right, Olympics are coming on. We don't care about NASCAR. We're flipping to USA. I was like,
it's funny. Somebody on Twitter, I forget who it is now, called that out, and they were like, "We're getting up against it. What are they gonna do?" And that was probably about 20 minutes till the top of the hour. And like I said, probably 5-10 minutes later, they made the announcement for it. So they gave you some notice, but it wasn't, to me, you want to do that like 20 minutes out. I mean, and credit, to be fair, we're only talking like a 5-minute difference, but it was definitely odd. You don't see that happen very often, where you start on one channel, you end up on another one.
Yeah, I knew they were going to have to scramble with Olympic trials, because they can't, people want to see the Olympics.
Shout out Simone Biles.
Absolutely. Yes. Killed it.
Shout out to Kerry Richardson too.
Yep.
All
the black girl magic. That's why I love the Olympics. Like, it's black girl magic when everybody gets to see it. It's great.
Art, you see that girl who that lady won the 10,000?
Yeah, I did see that.
They
came out of nowhere.
They real fast.
She was on the afterburners. She was out here.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a NASCAR podcast.
And the
back
10,000
to-
meter is,
We
I mean,
black.
they're turning left. It's a longer race. I mean, it's the NASCAR of.
Me and Peyton are gonna
It's
look.
wild.
So look, I've already said me and Carl are making a train spinoff podcast. So after that gets off the ground, me and Peyton are gonna make a running spinoff.
Mhm.
How many
Oh,
podcasts you gonna have, Art?
We have a whole series of spinoffs.
The
of
limit
other
does not exist,
topics.
Bonte.
Oh God.
The
Hey,
limit
hey.
does
The
not
limit is only
exist.
Monte, the limit is only in your mind, brother. Open up your mind.
Open up
That's
your
only where the
mind.
limit lies.
Open up your third eye.
Whoa.
Anyway. Bonte, what'd you think of the cup race?
So I did not watch the race due to obvious reasons. Hear me out. Due to obvious reasons, personal life happened yesterday. But on Twitter, I saw all that. Lord. That was probably one of the terrible endings I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry. Green flag, crash. Green flag, round of gas, round of gas, round of gas.
That's what makes it fun, though. It was fun in person. On TV, I feel like it's probably not as fun. In person, it was wild because those people were in the stands just like having meltdowns, and I'm sitting there cackling like a witch because I knew Bubba had a chance. And
He
so
did.
this girl was giving me the stank face like the entire race. I think she was cheering for Ross. I couldn't really tell. It was Ross or Kyle. I don't know. But every time Bubba would come around and he was in like, P3, P4, I was out there clapping like in her face. And she was so mad. And
She'd be
it was
alright.
just really funny. Yeah. That's why I was like, I mean, she had been giving me a stank face the whole race. So I was like, this is my chance. So I took it. And yeah, I mean, that's really why I love watching in person because you just don't get that experience at home. And so when you keep getting those restarts and you got to watch them go around like turn one and you're like holding your breath because you don't know who's going to, somebody's going to mess something up, in the first like 10 seconds of the restart. But yeah, I feel like at home, it's probably really annoying on TV because you don't get that like crowd excitement with it. But in person, those overtime restarts, there's nothing like that with that crowd energy and just like everybody's sweaty and tired and like, yeah, we want to go home, but we want to see who's going to win. And knowing that people were out of gas, it was just, oh God, it was chaos.
It's crazy how like the first was like the first 3 or 4 was literally zero gas, and somehow this
Hell, it was like 8 of them that were out of gas because it was going to be Bubba and Corey, and I was just like, oh, geez, of all people, it could be, of course, but
I'm thankful it's not them, but at the same time, oh Lord, Mr. 22 himself gotta come through. Yes.
But it was very similar to the whole Bristol situation with Denny. And people this is one of those situations where being a veteran driver comes in handy. And I knew that I kind of had a feeling where okay, it's gonna be somebody like because once Denny ran out of gas, I was like, damn, because he could have been the one to do it. And so I was like, nah, it's probably gonna be Joey or somebody else, like somebody's gonna come up and just take it. And they know how to manage those situations very well. And that's where you really have to, people always want to say, oh, they're, washed up. They've been in Cup for 15 years, blah, blah, blah. Those are the ones you got to watch in those situations because they know exactly how to handle that. And the younger drivers, they're still learning that stuff. So it was actually pretty cool to watch, even though that's not who I wanted to win. It was kind of like, oh, damn, he's about to give them a masterclass. Because, I mean, it was, he knew what to do. And so, I know everybody wants to say like, yeah, the car was cheated up, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, with 2 tires and that amount of gas for that amount of laps, like that's crazy. But again, because he's a veteran driver, he knows how to manage that.
Over 100, it was over 100 laps.
It was 100.
It was close to like 120.
120, something like it's
now,
crazy.
how the hell you go 120 with little
all
to
those
no
caution
gas?
laps? He was able to. He knew how to save. If you know how to save fuel correctly, and you know how to save your tires, again, that's where that veteran experience comes in.
Move, yeah, 15 years,
and that's really the only way he did that was experience. He knew exactly what to do.
He was also running mid-pack all race. And so
he didn't have to use his stuff up.
Yeah, didn't have to use stuff up.
Yep.
I'll say this for everyone who watched the race. I wonder if people would have had fun because I thought the natural finish of the race was actually building pretty well.
It was.
You had the chase down of Ross Chastain with 6 laps to go. It was a well done move by Denny Hamlin. So I was like, you know what, this is a good finish. It was racy. Saw someone come back through the field. Do you think people would have been satisfied if it had finished like that, or is everyone happy that we got the? Because I'm surprised that a lot of folks on Twitter are saying it was pretty negative. I agree with you, Kiana. The people in the stands, they were getting really hyped up about it. I was a part of them until we got to like that third one. I was starting to think like, wait, I really want Mexican dinner tonight, and there's not going to be a single place near my hotel that's going to be open.
The only way. The only way. Right. The only way I'm pissed because he won. For obvious reasons, if you know. But
yeah, I feel like if people had been there in person, they would have enjoyed the race a lot more. And that's why, that's my thing each week is that, no, I don't enjoy watching the races at home anymore. I really don't. And even with, switching from Fox to NBC, yeah, it's better, but it still does not fulfill the feeling that you get being at the track and being in the mix with everybody. Because even the people behind me, there was nobody else cheering for Bubba in my section except for this one guy who was behind me. I wish I got his name because he was awesome. Because we talked pretty much the whole time except for when the rain delay, and after the rain delay, he never came back. I was pretty sad. But he, his wife, and his sister-in-law all liked Bubba, which was cool. And I told him that I've met him before, and it was really cool. And we had a good little chat, but it was just really funny because even when Bubba was running up front, all the people who had booed Bubba before, this one guy, he kind of shouted down. He was like, "Dang, he's doing pretty good, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, people are noticing." But it's cool to have that, and it's cool to just have the experience of being in the crowd. So I feel like watching on TV, no, people are not going to understand how good some of these races are because they're just not there in person with that energy. So yeah, I think some people are kind of overreacting with oh, it was a terrible race, blah, blah, blah. I get it. The person who won was not who you wanted to win. It's fine. People were booing him at the track. They were booing Denny very hard at the track. But that's what makes it fun. It's fun. And nobody's really being violent about it or hateful about it. It's playful competition. We're all just going to leave and go back to our cars and, go home. But it's still cool to just be there and cheer on your driver. And it's, not this whole oh, I hate you because you like this driver. They're really, except for that one chick who behind me who was hating, it was
this year I had a good section because last year it was pretty brutal. There were a bunch of people wearing a certain I gotta remember this is going out to an audience, so I don't want to necessarily say things about a group, a fan base, but let's say a popular car dealership's driver had I had a lot of his fans behind me last year. They weren't very kind about Bubba, and I think they sort of knew that I was a Bubba fan, and last year was pretty miserable. This year, I was sat around a bunch of youngs, parents that brought their kids and everything. Turns out that makes for a very pleasant atmosphere just because
people are
going to curse a lot less when there's 15
that's
youngsters around. So
that's facts.
Now they were doing cartwheels and stuff, and I was like, okay, I swear if one of these little kids hits me in the face, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with someone's grandmama. But it did make it for a nice chill atmosphere, and also too easy exit. I got out of that place so quick when that race was over. But yes, the
I had a whole row of Blaney fans in front of me.
That's chill. Also, too, you mentioned meeting another Bubba fan in person. That's the most wholesome feeling.
There were a lot of Bubba shirts there, though. I was surprised.
It's not bad. Honestly, the closer you are to a big city, I'm jealous. I want to go to Richmond because you all have told me about how, that crowd is really, it's a big black crowd from what I heard. If you ever go to Atlanta, it's a black crowd. It is diverse. It is awesome. Yeah. And so, seeing other Bubba Wallace fans in person, it gets
and I actually saw some elderly black people too, and that made me happy. There was this older black guy during the rain delay. He had a Bubba shirt on. I was like, "Hey, I like your shirt," and we just kind of high fived each other. But it's cool to see that, and it's cool to see the crowd is changing. Yeah, it may be slow, but it's nice to see that people are, they're comfortable coming, and they're also just not being buttheads at the track. Because, like I said, the attitudes at the track versus what we see online, it's totally different. And that's why I've just kind of tuned people out online at this point, because being at the track is like so cool now. Even if you are cheering for a different driver than somebody else, you can usually find something in common with the people sitting around you. So once I realized I had an entire row of Blaney fans in front of me, like, we had a great time yesterday. So yeah, like, it's really cool to, see the changes in that and just be in that environment. And yeah, the kids, like, there was a little girl actually during the truck race, and she every time I turned to look at turn 1, she would like turn around and she would just wave at me and smile. Like, she was so excited that I was sitting next to her. But it was cute. Like, she was just enjoying the race, and she was pointing at all the cars. She's like, "Oh, I like that one. I like the colors," But yeah, like, it's nice to see, and it was a really good atmosphere. So yeah, Nashville gets points on that. I will say that.
Art, what'd you think of the Cup race?
I thought this was a pretty great race, honestly. And I went into it with not super high expectations. I'm not a hater of the Nashville track by any stretch. It's just one of those tracks that I've always been kind of neutral on since it got added to the Cup schedule. But this race really had a bit of everything. It had, to Peyton's point, some really good quality racing, especially late. I thought Denny really put on a masterclass. I think that kind of performance by him is just another reminder how he really is one of the elites in the field when it comes to being able to be very methodical and just be a surgeon in the car behind the wheel. He did everything right, timed it perfectly, didn't use up his stuff trying to get to him. And, Ross, to his credit, made some really good defensive moves, and, neither of them did anything dirty or anything like that. And it was just really great racing. I love to see that. Would have been so content for it to have finished right then and there about, 15 seconds later. But that boy Austin Cindric had to go and ruin everybody's plans and,
Hey,
upset the apple cart.
Noah Gragson.
So, I mean, I ain't see Noah. I see the two spinning like a top. So I can.
There was contact. It's noted in the NASCAR app. It was contact.
But it was a really good race though. Even up to that point, there was a little bit of chaos. There were definitely comers and goers, and the 23 was one of them. Right, the first 30 laps might have been the best 30 laps of the season. Drove up from 24th, I think, to 11th or 10th, and the car was just fantastic. We'd seen that it had good speed in practice, but seeing that translate into the race was great. And then, after the rain, it just kind of fell apart from there. But before they were able to do some strategy, but there was a lot that happened in this race. Christopher Bell, unfortunately, it seemed like the car to beat again this week, and I feel like every 2 or 3 weeks that seems to be the case, where he's got just a rocket ship that just seems to be the best in the field, and it takes misfortune for him to lose. It takes a wreck or something crazy. Like if he just keeps all 4 wheels pointed straight, he probably wins that race going away. Like, he just seemed to be the best car late in the race. So, I said on here a couple of weeks ago, if Bell would be someone that I would put money on if I was a betting man for a title. It'd be him and Denny would probably be the two I'd put money on, because they just seem to consistently be near the front, along with the 5 as well. But this was a really good race. I think it was interesting, all of the discourse coming out of it in certain segments of the NASCAR Twitter, talking about the overtime rule, how it's way too many, it's embarrassing, it's this, it's that. I'm kind of the opposite of it, just because, yes, I would like to see a race just go the scheduled distance and be done. I do think there's something to be said for the idea of progressing the sport. We did double file restarts, that changed the sport. People hated that. And I think the green, white, checkered rule is another one of those changes that the NASCAR made that is a good one that should stay. And I really do like, it's a love-hate thing. I hate it because of how it ended this time, but I love the unlimited rule only because it prevents an incident like Kevin Harvick at Talladega, where a guy just wrecks the field out and, ends everybody's day because they're out of gas and they have to, stay in their running order. So I appreciate that it saves the field from that, and it prevents that from happening. But it is hard when from an emotional standpoint when you're like, oh, thank God it's over, like we're safe, and then oh God, no, we're not.
That was the craziest part, was watching the like, you see the $2.99 like on the file, and then the yellow comes out, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me right now. And I mean, the sound from the crowd when that caution came out, I mean, it was just like, it was loud, and then it was just dead silent, because there was like, did that really just happen? Like,
my section
really?
was so happy. Like they were
It was
so
wild.
like they just wanted, I guess, Ross Chastain to have another crack at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
I
a
think
lot of Ross fans out there.
the fuel strategy and the fuel games, late definitely puts a different spin on the race. Like usually I feel like if there's going to be a green light checker, there's usually at least two. Like I'd be very interested to see if someone had like the breakdown for percentages of green white checkers that finish on the first versus the second versus the third, because it usually ends up being more than one, but everyone just seemed to lose their minds late, of course, like they always do. And then so there's that factor, the wrecking factor, and then the gas feels like the ticking bomb under the table, and like no one really knows who's gonna blow up next, right? And you had Blaney come in earlier, and then he was able to rally back to a good finish. Denny Truex held on as long as they could before they eventually just said this isn't worth it. But I like the strategy. I like it if you're Denny and you've got to win, like we're just gonna run you dry as long as we can. And it did definitely mix up the running order. And if you're a Bubba fan, it was great because you knew he could make it, right? Like he was the one guy, I think, for a lot of those green white checkers in the top 10. Maybe, and Corey for a bit too. I think maybe the first 2 or 3 attempts he could make it before he had to pit. But there weren't many people that were in contention who you knew could make it. So after we went to the first one, it's like, well, hell, give him 10 and let them all run out, let them just cruise around there, like it's through a parking lot. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. We'll talk more in 2311 quarter about it. But all in all, I mean, I think this was a really, really great race. The only negative I have for it really is just the start time.
The start time was dumb.
I just think if you're gonna have a track in the summer in the South, like you just got to do it in the evening. And you see how great a performance that track puts on in the nighttime. Like they have lights, it looks beautiful, it looks great out there. So I just really wish they would. I really wish they would just push it back to like a 5 o'clock start time or something like that, and that gives folks more time to get there. And like Kiana mentioned seeing some elderly folks there. Like I don't want nobody's grandma and grandpa out there in like 105 with no shade for 9 hours, right?
And then gotta
like,
walk a mile to the car, and I mean it's hot, like just and especially after getting like the truck race at night, like they didn't deserve a night. I'm sorry, like it wasn't interesting enough for a night race. And so, it's like frustrating when you get that. And then, cup race, you got to start at 2:30 on a Sunday. And it's, again, still near 100 degrees. Like, I hate it.
It will be interesting to see if it does move next year, because no one really gave an explanation why. Because the sequence of it, this is the same time it started in 2021. They learned from their mistake, just saying, hey, this is way too hot, way too difficult, everyone in on time. So the following year for 2022, they moved it back to a 5 p.m. start. That was perfect because, like you mentioned, Kiana, the way the stands are situated,
the
sun sets behind, and it makes it much better, even if it is still daylight. Then last year, 7 p.m. start, it was the best overall experience they've done so far. And it was about as bad as it was in 2021.
I think it was the broadcast, unfortunately. And I think
that's what I'd heard, the Olympics.
Yeah, with the Olympic trials, there's just nothing they can really do. But I wish they would just, if it's gonna be like that, then just put it on USA. I don't care.
Well, no, not even that. I've been a big proponent for just doing Saturday night racing. Like, especially
do a doubleheader.
Especially in the summer, because you're not competing with college football. Like Peyton knows, like
there's nothing on.
In the fall, like as soon as Saturday rolls around, college football is king in a lot of these areas, a lot of these markets. So instead of doing that, then why don't you just do it during the summer when you're not competing with those sports? Like to me, if you could even market it as like a Saturday night series and just do like a month's worth of races on like Saturday nights. Like there's your marketing tagline right there. And like you don't have to compete with these other things. Like that just makes so much sense. And you know, one other thing I was thinking about was I know this probably isn't possible from a logistical standpoint, but I was watching, you know, the crowd out there, and of course, like I know y'all folks out there were roasting in that sun, but I kind of thought back to you know, if you go back and look at like really old pictures of like Darlington, I want to say, if you go back and look, they actually have canopies that cover the grandstands.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that obviously the grandstands are way, way bigger. And I'm not pretending like that's not a limiting factor, but I would just love to see somebody try that. Like just figure out what that looks like, and try to test something that would work as like a shade. Especially for, you know, those big front stretch sections, because, you know, I feel like that would help so much. I mean, anyone who's been outside the South knows, like, even if you're just under the shade of a tree, like it makes a world of difference versus just sitting there in the full sun. So I know, like I said, that's probably very hard, and like sight lines, maybe that's not possible, but I would just love to see some group just try to workshop a solution maybe for that, because you know, like I said, like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when someone dies from this heat stroke, and like I do not want that to happen. So either moving the time back, moving it, you know, to a night, or like figuring out some kind of cover or something, because you know, you've got drivers falling out, you've got crew people falling out, you've got fans falling out from the heat. Like the heat is no joke, and like, hey, you know, climate change, like it's hot, bro. Like this ain't the heat your kids grew up on, like this, or you grew up on. Like it's built different, you know. So the folks had to be out there. Like the race started at 3 p.m. Eastern at 3:30. It didn't end until 9:30. That's a long time to be outside.
And I mean, you've been there since like, you know, 9-10 o'clock, because you gotta get there, get a good parking spot. Otherwise you gotta walk, you know, a mile or two to your car. So, you know, people are doing stuff. I got there at about 10:30, 10:45, because I was trying to make the tweet up and to see Joseph. And so, yeah, like, I mean, I was at the track from 10:45 to about 9 o'clock, so almost 12 hours. Like, that's a lot in the heat. That's a lot. So it's not fun.
Moving on to 2311 corner. Grit day for the team. Sucks for Corey. He was cooking until he wasn't. He got caught up in some shenanigans in one of those overtime restarts. But Tyler finishes third. Bubba finishes seventh. Corey finishes 29th in his debut in the Cup Series. Tyler was interviewed post-race, and he did everything he could to not cuss out his team, the officiating, Joey Logano, the like. Tyler essentially said, I'm going to summarize what he said, but there was no damn way they should have won. They should not have won that race, being the fastest car up front. And looking at his lap times, looking at Bubba's lap times, I wholeheartedly agree. Could have finished 1-2. You decide who goes 1 and who goes 2. But I am also very disappointed in the finishing order of this race. Now, granted, everybody loves NASCAR for the chaos, so much so that F1 tried to replicate it in 2021. But it was too many times that came to the demise, I'd say, of the 2311 team. Glad that Bubba got a good finish. He needed it, like Peyton alluded to. Absolute worst possible scenario: the person behind you on the cut line wins, and now you're 50 points to the bad instead of being 12 points to the good. Because at one point he was back over the cut line. So I'm not going to get preachy, because I've already said it. It's DEFCON 5. It's DEFCON 5, and apparently it's DEFCON 5 for the 45 team as well, because you bring speed to the track. You're really fast in practice. You qualify really well. Everything falls to pieces during the race. There's no adjustments being made. You can't keep up with the track. And it's too little too late oftentimes. And this was definitely one of those situations where what could have been was not. And that's racing sometimes. So Vontae, Art, Peyton, Kiana, thoughts, opinions, want to add, want to subtract?
Happy that Bubba finally got a top 10 finish after a whole damn month without one. No, It's not like Bubba's doing fine. He doing what he needs to do. He good. My issue is him. Well, not Bubba, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Dude, it's 7 races left. I'm sorry. I know, Ken. I'm sorry. I know. It's 7 races left. You keep making terrible adjustments. If he keeps saying just the car, and y'all don't do it, what are y'all doing? You cannot keep having these terrible cars every week and losing out on stage points. We lost 60 stage points. Hell, probably more than that. We need to get it together. Like, for real. Like, we minus 51. Let's just get y'all shit together, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know, I'm gonna tell you something. That was some great restraint by you. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't even gonna hold you, bro.
Great job, Bonte. I
Like,
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
That's not even. And the funny part is, people don't think I'm being like a smartass. I'm really not. Like, I don't blame you, bro. Like, this is I mean, you speak it from the heart with it, and like, yeah, I feel like, you know, this is the song that never ends. It just goes on and on and on. You know, these cars start out great, and you know, you come back from the rain, you gotta know. I'm sure they do. I'm not even gonna act like they don't know, because
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I have to assume that the people that are in these positions are not dumb. I don't think they are. I have no reason to believe they are, but there's just an inability to make correct decisions, like the correct decisions. You come back from the rain, you know the track's going to be completely different. And I mean, they were 30th, 32nd on speed.
That's bad.
They were terrible. They were absolutely terrible. And it's frustrating to see, because, you know, they didn't get, you know, I think they may have got 1 stage point, maybe. I can't remember, but you know, didn't run up there and get a ton of stage points. And I mean, this race, like several races prior, are kind of worst case scenarios. And yes, they made a great strategy call and rolled the dice to get track position, and they were able to hang on late. And, you know, if the last 6 weeks weren't total trash in terms of finishes, this would have been a great week. Like, you can hang your hat on a top 10. Like, that's a good way to turn around. We just talked about Raj, right? Like, earlier in the show, saying he had a bit of a dry stretch, turned it around with a top 10. But like, within the context of the 23 season and where they at sitting here on July 1, like, this was a top 10 is a loss. A top 2 was a loss. Like, P2 and down are all losses at this point. And, you know, I said on here a couple weeks ago that I was real nervous about Joey being the one person behind him. Like, I sat on here and I said, that's the one guy I don't want, because he knows how to clutch out a win. Well,
guess what he did?
Shoot, guess what? Guess what he did?
He won his way to victory.
I think he might. Now, listen, I think he might have had a couple milk jugs full of gas somewhere in the passenger seat with him. Like, I don't know what he had in that car. I don't know how you stretch it, even with gas. I don't know how you stretch it, you know, 30 laps, you know, stretch it at least 12 laps over the limit, green flag, plus another 15 under yellow. Like, I don't know how he did it, but you know what? He passed the test. So, like, it really doesn't matter. I know is, I guarantee you in 20 years, we'll hear about how this car was dirty as hell. I just know it'll come out. And you know what? I'm not even mad that the car was probably dirty, because, like, that's the sport. That's racing. Like, I expect the teams to try and push the envelope, but beyond the limit, so it's whatever. But for the focus of 2311 corner, I mean, this was a bad day, and I think everyone in that building probably feels a ton of stress to get both cars in the playoffs. And, you know, Tyler, to his credit, he did everything possibly could. I mean, he did everything short of dumping Joey. And, you know, Tyler's not that kind of guy. Now if it was Denny, Denny might have dumped him coming to the flag, just to make sure that he might have gotten that spot saved for Bubba. But you know, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure in that building to get it done. And like I said, I just don't like if you're a repeat offender for mistakes, right? Like, if we're watching, you know, stop me if you heard this before. We're watching on the timeline. People listen to the radio saying, you know, car's too tight, come in, don't adjust it. So give them 4 tires, pack it full of fuel, send it back out. Like, you gotta take a chance, right? Like make a big swing, stay late on a caution. Like you're already in 30th place. Like what's 30th versus 34th at that point? Like hell, you're gonna get another caution at some point and bunch up the field. So yeah, I mean, this was a terrible weekend. There was some quote off the radio where he was like, "No, like bro, we have to win." Like to Freddie on the radio right after the race.
After the race ended. Yeah,
and
you can tell
exactly right.
You can tell he was not happy. He's furious because he
Yeah,
literally just had that meeting like in Coda. Get it together. What happened after Martinsville? What the hell happened? We literally was in the top 5 all race. And now he literally messed up like the last 6-7 weeks besides Texas, besides Darlington. Like, I understand. This is NASCAR. Just like we kind of said. Not our drivers gonna do well. I can understand that.
However,
so yeah.
Hear me out. I'm sorry, hear me out. However, if the team doesn't do well every week, it's a problem. And if it doesn't keep doing well to the playoffs, change needs to be coming. Because we cannot keep doing this every year. Keep disappointing him because he told y'all he need changes.
Yeah,
we need to get it together.
My thing is this, and I've seen some folks on Twitter, and I'm not going to name anyone, but like I've seen several folks consistently on Twitter who push back against calls for change on the 23 team, specifically calls for change on the pit box. And they'll point out that you got in the playoffs, you got 2 wins in 3 years, and those are both great achievements. But I think you should have higher expectations than that for this team. Like, I don't think 2 wins in 3 years are good enough. Like, they're great that they happen, and I'm very thankful because you know what? You could be a fan of some of these folks out there who ain't won nothing in a lot longer than 2 wins in 3 years. So, like, on the one hand, like, yes, those are great accomplishments, and like the playoff run was great, clutching up again, the playoffs were great. But I feel like you have to have higher expectations for this team, for this organization. Like if they want to be a top tier team, if you want to be, the 1B in the Toyota camp with behind Joe Gibbs, 2 wins in 3 years ain't good enough, right? Like if a Gibbs car won 2 races in 3 years, they'd say, well, we gotta change something here. Like this car's not good enough, right? So I just have higher expectations, and obviously by the reactions on the radio and the come to Jesus meetings behind the scenes, it's clear that the driver has those same higher expectations. So I would say those moments, while great, have come too few and far between, and you have to want more out of your team. And that's just the reality of where they are. Like I think Bubba is capable of winning races on an annual basis. Like there's no doubt in my mind that their ability to go out there and win at least one of 36 races is clearly there. Now, do I expect him to go out there and win 15 races in a year? Like, no, but like the idea that like we're hanging our hat on a win that was 2 and 3 years ago at this point, like we should not, those are nice trophies that are in the shop and like in the background. Like they have no bearing on the last year and a half. And, I think when you think about that playoff run, it took a Herculean effort to make it in the playoffs. Like they did not just, sleepwalk their way through the regular season. They had to scratch and claw all the way up until the end of Daytona to get into the playoffs. And yes, they caught fire, but if they had been a little bit better, if they had gotten some stage points, they probably would have made it to the next round because as we've said out here before, like they were fighting uphill the entire way because they had no stage points. So I just think that change has to come, and I'm kind of stuck in like a no man's land now. I don't remember if I've talked about this or not, but I'm kind of stuck in this no man's land where like, yes, I want this team to do well. I'd love for this current iteration of the team to do well and like be successful and win a race and make the playoffs. But I almost fear that if they were to like squeak in by some miracle, which I don't think they can at this point, but if they could somehow sneak and point their way in, that's like fool's gold. And they're like, oh, well, we can run it back one more time. We can't get rid of them. Like we just made the playoffs 2 years in a row. And it's like, you made it, but look at how you made it, right? Like I think how you make it matters just as much as as the results. And if you're getting by on the skin of your teeth and it takes, hitting these Hail Mary shots in order to make it further in the playoffs, like, to me, that's not sustainable in a year in, year out basis. So I think change has to come. And so part of me almost hopes that, as crazy as this sounds, that they just don't make the playoffs at this point, because it's like, would I rather have short-term pain for a long-term better result and a better team next year and the next 2 years? Or do I want them to have a playoff run where they maybe can get fired? Like, this team, I don't think is going to catch fire like they would last year. It's like, I don't see this team making it to like the round of 8, and definitely not in the round of 4 based on their performance. So it's like, would I rather have another round of 16, like we can hang our hat, playoff appearance? Or would I rather say, okay, we got to clean house, we got to start over, like the rebuild on this team on the box has to happen ASAP? Because sometimes that's what it takes is in sports, is like you have to bottom out and just be like, okay, this isn't working. We have to start over. We have to change it. And maybe that's what it would take. So I go through a bit of a confliction on what I want to happen. But obviously, first things first is like, I'd love to get a win. Like, we just need a win. Like, nothing else matters anymore. And hopefully they get it. Tyler, you're doing great. I appreciate you. You a real one. Keep doing what you're doing.
So here's my thing. Kyle Busch said something really cool. I posted the video yesterday. Because of course I knew somebody was gonna ask, so I was waiting on it. But someone asked him, how do you feel not having a win yet? And I mean, it's Kyle Busch. Like, he should have one. He's Kyle Busch. But he actually had a very good point, and he said, as much as he would like to have one, this year has been actually very tricky for not just his team, but really all the teams. And part of it is because you have these new cars out there. And so Ford and Toyota have figured some stuff out that like the Chevy people have not figured out, but Chevy's figuring out how to, bypass and still be competitive with them. And, so it's like, it was a very interesting answer that he gave. And, he didn't, kind of try to pass the blame off to anyone, because he was like, it's still partly up to me too. And, he acknowledged like, yeah, things have not been probably what they should be, but also just the level of competition has changed out there. And so it was interesting hearing that just straight from his mouth. And I think it was interesting seeing people's reactions to that, because they were like, oh, like he's actually like going in depth with his answer. And but yeah, like I was glad to hear him say that, because I feel like maybe that's just what some people need to hear, is that, as good as we think these people are, there's so much going on behind the scenes and so many different moving parts to, the competition, that like, yeah, we can expect whatever we want to expect, but it's still not really going to happen that way. And, if one team figures something out, the other teams have to figure out how to catch up to that. And then other teams have to figure out how to catch up to that team that's trying to catch up to the other team. So, I mean, it's constantly changing out there. And I liked what Phil said earlier too. And he was like, it really is a week to week sport. And it is, because you're going to all these different tracks. You've got different weather happening. You got different temperatures. We saw it yesterday, honestly, on the track, because like half the track was in sun, half was in the shade. You could see the storm coming in on one end of the track and it was full sun on the other end. So that was chaos too. And like the temperature difference was really crazy before and after the storm too. And so, I mean, it's just, there's so many things that are happening that they have to, account for and try to plan for. There was another round of storms that was supposed to hit that didn't hit, thank God. But that round originally looked worse than the first round that came through. So that was going to be crazy too. If that did materialize, because it was like bringing hail and like it was going to be bad, but thank God it weakened and it didn't happen. But I think some of the teams were a little hesitant about that too at first, because I was hearing some grumblings like, yeah, we're going to get through this, and then in about an hour we're going to get another round. So it was just kind of it was a chaotic day, but I think that's what made the race good, because people really had to be on their toes with strategy. So if you weren't, you got caught out there pretty quick, because it was pretty obvious, who did and didn't account for certain things. But, I think at this point, 23XI knows what they need to do. I don't think there's anything that any of us can do for them at this point, but support them. But that's really up to them what they're going to do with their strategy for the rest of the season, because they've got one driver in the playoffs already and the others trying to make it. But I mean, it probably will have to come down to a win. I mean, at this point it is because of Joey, but it it is what it is. Like, I think Bubba knows what the deal is. It's pretty obvious on the radio. He knows what the deal is. He was feeling good yesterday, and that was the bummer, is that, it seemed like he was in a really good mental space. And that was part of my worry with everything that just came out. Obviously don't need to go into that, but in the back of my mind, I'm always worried about how he's feeling, just about himself. Because that does affect how he does in the car. So, it sounded like he was feeling good. So I was like, all right, we're gonna have a good day. Like, this is great. And it just, he got a good result, but it just wasn't as good as it probably could have been. So that's frustrating. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of just come to the point where, it is what it is. Like, this year, like Kyle said, has been very tricky for a lot of teams. It's not just them. Look at Penske. They look like absolute crap at the beginning of the season. And now they've got all three drivers in the playoffs. They figured it out. And, it sucks watching that happen for other teams as much as I love my Penske boys. But, it's one of those things where that's just the sport. Like, people are going to figure stuff out. Others are not going to figure it out as quickly, or, get things right when they really need to get it right. And that's just the sport. So, I can be mad and frustrated about it, but at the end of the day, like, how much can I actually control with that? So, I would love to see Bubba win, and I feel like it still could happen. If he doesn't make the playoffs and still gets a win this year, fine. At least he still gets a win. But, it's just frustrating that, things haven't materialized the way they could have. So I'm going to keep pouring positivity into my boy, because at the end of the day, I do love Bubba. I want the best for him. Out of everyone on that track, like, that's who I care about the most. And so, it's frustrating, but I know that he has some magic in him somewhere, and I feel like it's going to happen. So, it's not going to be an overnight thing, overnight success, but I really think he's still got something in the tank for the rest of the season. So I'm just going to keep hoping that something will come together for him.
So I've been taking notes, because this season's been a strange one in terms of 2311, especially when we're just going to look at the 23 car when we're talking about this here. Hot starts of the year. Might have been a bit fortuitous. You had two plate tracks. You had a fifth place at Daytona, fifth place at Atlanta. So gets off to a very hot start. So you look at this season, 6 top 10s ahead of schedule. Last year, for the entire season, he had 10. So he is 4 top 10s away from what he did the entirety of 2023. So you look on paper and you think, this is great. This feels, I would say, somewhat worse than just about any season, because there are so many positives in terms of the situation. And I've sort of looked at him here. You've got his teammate running well, which can be a double-edged sort of sword in terms of how to interpret that. Because you look at Richard Childress, you look at where the 3 runs, and you think, okay, is that what that car's so capable of? And then you look at where the 8 is able to run on a good day. I mean, that 8 car late in the race was a top 5-ish car. So you like to see that Tyler is running well. There's speed in these cars. But also, too, it does make you nervous, because right now, Tyler is 4th and Bubba sits 17th. I don't think the gap in their talent is that substantial. I think if Tyler's running 4th, I think Bubba should be probably around 12th. But I at least like to see that as an organization, they've not lost the plot completely. And that also ties into the other thing that makes me feel decent about the situation is the resources. 2311 has the resources to get it done. Like Art mentioned, like Kiana mentioned, there's smart people at 2311. They're going to put everything behind them. I trust that they put everything behind each of their drivers to make sure they can get done on track. And yeah, of course they would, because that's what they owe their sponsors and everything. So I trust the resources. I trust Bubba. it can be easy as a fan, especially on Twitter, social media, as negative as a place it can be. I try to do my best to block out. My block list probably looks like Brett Griffin's, because if I just see someone posting negative, even though they not interact with me, I still block them. Like, listen, I'm trying to. I maintain my social media feed like a bonsai tree. I prune it and nurture it. I want it to be beautiful, and it just makes a beautiful echo chamber. But you sometimes might question, well, how good is my driver? Like you're saying, I don't think he's a 15 wins a year guy. I would say he should be able to win one race a year. I think he should be able to do what Kyle Petty did. He should be able to do what Clint Boyer did. Those guys were able to crack off a win once a season, maybe once every other season.
Kurt Busch as well too.
Yeah, exactly. A Kurt Busch. Well, if he ends up being Kurt Busch, I'll take it, because Kurt Busch is a Hall of Famer.
That's a great career.
And not only that, a Daytona 500 too, man.
Exactly.
We need that.
But the pre-results are there. We have all seen Bubba run well, and he can do it consistently. So I don't have any question about him. In fact, I would say in terms of headspace, I think Kiana really mentioned it well. I think his headspace is better than it's ever been.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
he could have blown up yesterday. I've been at that track and heard him blow up. That's the race last year where he just didn't talk to Booty for a huge chunk of the race. That's another year too where the tire fell off and he just essentially just lit them up. It was wildly entertaining, but also like, man, you feel sometimes gross listening to the radio because you're just hearing someone just go through the worst day of their life. The results there, I think he is fully capable. And also something that we haven't mentioned, the pit crew, they're holding their own. They are not something that we can point out a ton this year, then say like, oh, they are failing him. Are they the best? Not necessarily. They're not necessarily winning him spots like like a Hendrick or a Joe Gibbs would. But you know what? Just bring it back within a few spots when you arrive, and I think they're doing a fine job with that. My biggest concern, I look at this year, you look at the where they're qualifying, big drop off compared to last year. During the playoff run, from when I was looking, it didn't look like last year that he qualified outside the top 10. He's not qualified in the top 10 the last 4 races, so he's not qualifying. They're not qualifying. They're not rolling off the truck with the speed they usually do. Adjusting, it just seems like in the late stage of race, they're oftentimes not really in contention. And then in terms of, they're compared to the 45, they are not spending as much time in the top 5 as I would like to see. And that's my key concern, because we are not going to see those sort of lucky, like, oh, if the first and second place run out of gas or what. In order to capitalize on that, you got to be in the top 5, in my opinion. He's just not spending enough time in the top 5. And frankly, it just seems like the adjustments just aren't there. And I love Booty Barker to death. He is fantastic to listen to radio. It seems like him and Bubba get along very well. It's just, I don't know whether he tries to go more conservative on these changes. Rarely, it's a tough moving target. But the 3 things that I'm most concerned about going into the end of the season are the qualifying, the adjusting, and this not spending enough time in the top 5. And then the thing is, now they're in a scenario where it's win or bust. What if it was something where they were coming with top 10 cars every weekend off the truck? Okay, that just means, hey, just run hard and we'll make slightly riskier calls. What I don't love is, are we going to be in a front row motorsports Michael McDowell situation where, hey, every week we've got to make a Hail Mary, like when everyone else is pitting on lap 35, we're going to stay out to lap 65. Yes, that can get you a win, but those are low probability moves. I'm excited for it because it'll be interesting to see them essentially just try throw everything at, hey, our only goal here is winning, but it can also be really, really frustrating. So anxious, but like I said, there is some positivity. I'm going to channel my Kiana here. I'm going to, put forth positive vibes into it. We've got the right driver. We've got the right team. pit crews delivering. They're not that far off because the 45 is running well. So they just need to find that little special something they had last year.
All right, before I let you go, I just want to just jump on what Peyton just said. The pit crew doing what they're supposed to do. All right.
Yeah, I'll give them their props. Because I was watching those stops like a hawk because he was like right in front of me. And I'm like, all right. They
are doing fantastic.
So
awesome.
That's what gives me hope, though, because obviously they had to, fix something with that because we were all, that was a huge issue. And they had to have a come to Jesus moment with that, too. So something happened because it's been pretty good lately. So that's why I have hope. And like I said, progress is not going to happen overnight. It's incremental. So sometimes you just got to let them figure things out and just work it out. So we'll see what happens. But I think they still have time to pull something out.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a 2311 corner, and we really didn't discuss the bigger news, the big news story coming out of the week for 2311. So I just want to say, Eric Almirola, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. I hate the way that you sneak this. If y'all catch fights, gonna be direct. We hate, and I'm gonna stop. And notice I ain't just say we. It's not just me. I'm what the culture feeling. I hate you, bro. If I see you, and we some furniture moving. That's all I gotta say. It's gonna be some furniture moving. It's gonna be a misunderstanding if I ever catch you, bro. He gets these hands. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I gotta say.
Well said. Now we're going to get off our collective soapboxes and move on to a fun segment of the show. It's time for Lights Too Bright.
Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights.
I'm not going to go first. I won't go first. I will not go first.
I can't say what I want to say because I don't want the racists in my mentions this week. So I'm going to end up in jail.
I'll go first.
For all means, County, you can't just lead us in it and not say what you was going to say.
I got it. Give me the baton. I got it.
The block list. All right, go ahead.
I got it. Mr. number 5, Mambo number 5 in the blue and red car, who don't know where the apron is, who don't know where the angle of the track is.
I was not going to say it.
I'm going to say it. I ain't scared of him. I ain't scared of not one of y'all. Child. Ain't nobody said nothing on Twitter that hurt my feelings. Ain't scaring me. Bro, you gotta know where the apron is. You're the greatest driver in the world, so they say. That's what they tell me every week. You gotta know where the apron is. Ain't nobody missed the apron like you did, bud. Then wrecked out a whole bunch of folks mind their own business. Who did he run into? Was it Ross? I believe. Who did he run up into?
Yeah, he murdered Ross.
He literally
murdered him.
Capital punishment, bro. That's what you deserve. You kidding me?
You know what's bad? Like TV was saying, oh, Denny and Ross got beef. It's going to be these two going at it. Denny didn't even have the chance.
He said, stupid, I'm not even going to give you a chance. Bro, you kidding me? Don't. No, bro. You got to go on some Herculean, freaking 96, 98 Jeff Gordon streak to get this title back, bro. Like, you the only guy out there. I seen Corey LaJoy running around there. I saw Harrison Burton running around there. I saw a lot of scrubs running around there. Ain't none of them hit the apron. Now I get, what happened was you tried to push old boy Denny too hard. And that's why it's the ultimate Lights Too Bright, because you got a little too lost in the sauce, and look what happened. Now look at you, embarrassed. You should be ashamed of yourself. Do better. And if the race is here, that's good. Be mad. Your boy choked. Probably could have won that race if we're being honest, but he gave it to Joseph anyway. That's who I got.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know what else to say other than that.
I can give some more if you want, because Corey LaJoy, you a repeat offender. Come on down, brother. Come right on.
It was down, just wild. It was so wild to watch, and especially knowing that all those people in the stands had all them Kyle Larson shirts on. I mean, I feel like that's why the crowd was so silent after that, because it was just, once you lost Kyle, you lost Ross, you lost like all those shirts were just done. Chase is driving through the grass every damn restart. Like, I mean, it was just like
maybe that's why the stands were so pleasant, because all those drivers were just running circles, tight loops around each other.
It was wild.
Because
I just look at this wreck. I mean, the 43 dead, the 8 dead, the 3 dead, the 1 dead. Like, bro, the 54 dead. I mean,
poor Ty. Poor Ty.
Like
no,
nowhere to go.
That crowd was not there for no Ty Gibbs. I can tell you that right now.
Nowhere to go.
Not at all.
Just minding your own business.
Anything that happened to Ty Gibbs, it sounded like Kyle Larson won.
The mistake was being the same zip code as the greatest driver in the world, bro. I tell you, ain't that a shame? Ain't that a shame?
Monte, you got a light that's been too bright. You got one for us?
Mr. Joy.
Yes. Old Faithful.
Old Faithful.
You know that the SpongeBob meme where he holds up the box and it's got the net. It says "Old Reliable."
Yeah, Old Reliable.
Yeah. Old Reliable. That's cool.
Yep.
Like, Old Reliable.
There will not be a week that passes where Corley Joy does not get slander on this show. I stand by it. I guarantee it.
Look, I think that I feel like there has not been a week he has not earned slander. If he just went around, ran around 20th place, went home and ate his cheese sandwich, I wouldn't say not one word about the man. He earns it now. Like it ain't personal.
No, that's fair.
He deserved to be on Let's Bright. Mr. Corley Joy.
You're not wrong.
For good.
You're not
For
wrong.
good.
Peyton, who do you have as your first Lights Too Bright?
For me, I keep going back. I know this is such an oddball, but they just stood out there and said, "Listen, the spotlight's on me." Lane Riggs, you've got a fully funded truck. You're running 16th in the point standings, and you're getting into a fracas with a part-time driver, and your truck is hurt. You just needed to limp that thing, get it back to the pit crew so they could work on it. And you're like, no. I got to put Stephen Parsons in his place. I got to stand on this business. I cannot allow this. Let me wreck my stuff. The light was there was a light. It was dim. And that light was between the ears. So I'm not certain whether the lights. It's a fully funded truck he's driving, and it's 16th place. That's the most bewildering thing, and I get it. You're in the heat of the moment. You're battling. You want to turn your season around, and you see this driver who's related to the guy in the booth. I guess nephew of famous Benny Parsons. I'm gonna fight with him. I can't let the boys back home see that I got pushed around by Parsons. No. I ain't gonna let it happen. Let me rough him up. And then he dumps himself, and then gets a 2-lap penalty, something I really cannot recall since like 1996. Like NASCAR went deep. They went and took their playbook and went, dusted it off. They said, "Oh my God, we can do this. Can we do this? Hey, Ted, come over here. I think we can penalize him for 2 dang laps. Let's do it." Something I had not seen for years. He found a way. Man, like that's a triumph of the human spirit in terms of just getting caught in the moment. So yeah, Lane Riggs, I'll put it up there. Everyone else, Cup race. I mean, yeah, Kyle Larson. Man,
disappointed. All them people in the stands. That's terrible.
He made my day. I was
like, I ain't saying nothing, but 90% of the people around me that had his shirt on.
95% of his fans being upset. It is going to make a better race day experience for me. So, but Lane Riggs, turn down that light, buddy.
I love y'all because nobody said mine. Mr. Carson Hostevar, come on down. You are my week's winner of Lights Too Bright. I don't know what in the world you were thinking, accosting Harrison Burton like that under caution. Poor Harrison Burton. He ain't do nothing to you. Well, maybe he did. But I don't know if y'all paid attention to it, but on television, the camera's right on him. So he gasses it up under caution to hit Harrison, and Harrison brake checked him. And then Carson just like nails the throttle and just spins Harrison. Just spins him for no good reason. Raja, get your fire suit ready. I think you're going to be turning left and right in Chicago, buddy boy. I think it's something coming out tomorrow.
Since they said they're reviewing it, I feel like I think
Race Control gonna have some fun with that one.
Yep,
the culture needs
his
it.
old tricks. The culture does need it. I need Raj in the cup car ASAP. No Rocky.
That'd be amazing.
We need all we can get.
Bro,
culture been taking some hits lately.
That'd be the worst place for Raj to make his debut. Like, y'all trying to get him fired on his first day.
Nah.
Hey, that would be goated, bro.
Mess up.
I don't know. I feel like he'd have a lot of fun with that. I kind of want to see it. I really do.
Well, we'll have two Hendrick cars at Chicago. Get ride with the white and blue reverse. So fire.
Knowing them, they probably put ally on Rogers' car.
I'm alright with that. I ain't a hater.
Oh, that's cool. That too.
Although sidebar, I tried to open an account ally a while back, and they were like, "We don't think you are who you say you are, so we're not gonna give you an account." And I was like, "Hold up a minute, I've been me my whole life. What you mean?"
They basically call you a fraud. That's insane.
I mean, I could have come on this show and got called that for free. I wouldn't have to submit any paperwork.
Oh my
God,
that's insane.
All right.
Kiana, you got a light that's too bright. Might as well say it.
No, I think Art said most of what I wanted to say.
I need Art.
I will say I was very surprised at Chase though, because it seemed like he just couldn't keep himself on the track. It was very strange. Maybe it seemed like every time I looked up, he's driving through the grass in front of me, and I'm like, "Where are you going?"
He knew that he wasn't going to have any more pictures with Hooters girls. He wasn't going to get no more chicken.
He was distracted. That was what it seemed like. It seemed like he was distracted.
No more Hooters.
Well, no more chicken.
That's wild.
Hey, think about them wings, boy. I tell you, that'd make me wreck.
I mean, he didn't like the Hooters girls. It's pretty obvious. Like, I saw them in person, and it was awkward. Like,
well, you don't have to,
shout out Hooters.
Awkward.
Well, you don't have to worry about that no more since Hooters is gone on NASCAR now.
It's gone.
Oh, bye. After 30 years.
I don't know if they gone or Rick Hendrick was like, "Nah, go away."
I don't know,
need your financial issues over here with
the
me.
Hooters racing, like the stuff is gone. Like it seems like they're just pulling completely out of the sport. So
they said that check not coming, bro. That check ain't on the way.
I mean, they've been closing locations and I feel like they probably don't even really have the funds to keep doing that, to be totally honest.
It's like Mars when Mars left after many years in NASCAR.
I don't think Hooters is that prolific than M&M's and Snickers, but go off.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. So I think it's a financial decision, but
it's kind of weird how Hooters has like such a reputation in NASCAR, and they really ain't been around like that. They've been around for a long time, but they're not like.
They're not
I think of like like a.
They're not a McDonald's.
Oh God! Somebody got to check on that Hooters diecast kid.
Wasn't it like?
Is he okay?
Yeah.
Was it just the gap like Kulwicki to Chase Elliott? Like what fell in between them those 30 years?
Nothing.
Like, I genuinely can't remember.
Championship.
Yeah, but nothing in between. Like there's a 30-year gap between Alan Kulwicki and then who do they sponsor for the next 25 years?
Nobody.
Different teams.
They've been out. And then the thing too is like with Chase, it's not like they were his primary on there for every race. You saw him
they were pulling back, and especially since it's July 1st, I feel like that's what tells me that they're just completely done because that was a fiscal.
The quarter over.
It's a new fiscal year, so they were just cutting it. So I think they're done.
Also, a little bit too much
budget, not budgeting.
A little bit too much.
I'll tell you what though,
you still a little too much breading.
A little bit too much breading. Tone it down.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, they were losing on the margins. Bonta, I was gonna say, if y'all in the diecast market, that Chase was it Texas win and that Hooters car, that probably gonna be pretty sought after. So if y'all want to invest your money in diecast instead of the stock market, that's a pretty good to buy into.
Brother, I had Chase Elliott's Kansas win for 2018, and I also had his Dover win for 2018. Sold those for almost $300.
Talking about the chicken.
But I'm saying this is the last one. This is the last one, though. That's all I'm saying.
No
it's a little pro tip. Little pro tip for folks out there.
Hey, look,
some of those Hooter schemes are pretty good, though. I will say
a lot on eBay. Get you an Alan Kawicki diecast and a Chase Elliott one. Probably give you a down payment on the house. You can have the light and dark version of Hooters.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, do it before they drop an official statement. I'm just saying. Once that drops, that's it.
Get your pre-orders in. Yep. It won't DNP. That's the one you can be sure it will not
DNP. It's HMS, buddy. They be all right.
Let's see. Before I forget, open mic. Y'all stay tuned. This isn't the only time you'll hear our voices this week. We are scheduling the great debate. It's Bonte versus Carl. We have a guest moderator. We're going to be doing a mid-season debate about who and where and how and why and the NASCAR Cup Series for 4th of July weekend. And y'all make sure you stay tuned for that because it's probably going to be our most off-the-rails episode in the history of Victory Lane Vibes. That's saying something from us because you know how we are.
Let's see. Insane, like more insane. So be ready.
There's that.
I ain't adding in that one, so don't play with the kids.
I mean, yeah, whatever.
This is the episode for grown folks, as they say.
Yeah, grown folks. These for the adults. It's Friday night. No Patreon. We out here. What else is there? Was that it? That may be that.
Shout out to Joseph Newgarden, my buddy, my new friend.
Oh.
We had a great time yesterday. If you were going to be in Nashville for the Grand Prix in September, highly recommend it. They actually had people out at the track promoting it, which was pretty cool. But I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. So I will be there because I've basically been asked to be there. So I'm doing the special Joseph Newgarden package. Really excited about that. But yeah, he's really, really sweet, really cool guy. Actually, who else did I see yesterday? Austin Cindric, Joseph, Kyle Busch. Actually, you know what? Special Lights Too Bright moment. Ricky Stenhouse and Austin Dillon, there were kids waiting to talk to y'all. And you walked right past them. They were yelling at y'all to come sign stuff, and y'all didn't even acknowledge them, didn't wave. That was trifling. Don't appreciate that. You really ruined those kids' day. Like, they were devastated. I even tried to yell at them and try to get them to come over. They did not acknowledge anybody yelling at them or anything. They just ran. The least you could have done is at least wave at those kids. Okay.
I'm not surprised it's Austin Dillon.
I mean, I wasn't surprised either, knowing my previous encounters with both of them were not that great. But yeah, that was.
They need to get better heroes.
Yeah, I think after that, especially, and I will say that was Joseph was really great. He came and talked to every single person that he could. He signed as much stuff as he could in the time that he had. He was so great with everyone, and that was really nice to see. Kyle Busch came and signed a bunch of stuff for people. Carson Hocevar came and signed a bunch of stuff from people. Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric. And so, yeah, seeing them just kind of blow those kids, that really made me angry, honestly. And it's, again, not even my drivers, I don't cheer for either one of them, y'all know. But I hate seeing when that kind of stuff happens, because the least you can do is just be like, hey, I don't have time, but thank you for, just something. Say something. I just think that's so rude to ignore them and run away. Yeah, that really made me angry. So yeah, I would give them Too Bright for that, because that was a very bad impression compared to everybody else that was over there. But yeah, it was really cool. The fan zone yesterday at Nashville was really cool. They had a lot of cool stuff, but it's very obvious which drivers actually wanted to, talk and interact with people and who didn't. So just saying.
I'm gonna say this. Why the hell does those two had have Daytona 500 trophies, but my boys don't. Come on, NASCAR guys. That's how you feel. You don't like me?
It's coming.
Racing gods are cruel and unfair.
It's coming.
Yeah, you hate to see it.
All right, I got something I'm gonna cut in here. So we got a late breaking Ask Bonte. So Bonte, thank you for showing up. So we can get this in. This is from Brandon on Twitter. His at KVLGN3AM. He said, hashtag Ask Bonte. If you ever got the opportunity to drive in NASCAR, what series and what track would you drive on? And we only get one answer. One series, one
answer.
track. Thank you.
My series, obviously Cup. Track, Daytona, because I want that Daytona 500 trophy.
That's a 43rd place finish. Thank you for your efforts.
Oh my God! Don't do him like that.
That's
Jared.
What's really cruel is that there's only 36 cars. That's the real thing.
He said 43.
We taking it back to the old days, baby.
Jared.
We taking it back to the old days.
He
For
said you
professional
finished
start,
behind
43rd.
the wrecker and the ambulance.
Jared and Art, my hands, you know them, man.
Wow.
What did he say fuck me for? I didn't say it.
my hands exclusive for y'all too.
That is terrible. He said 43rd.
43rd, baby.
That's crazy. We went back to the old school days. That's insane.
Wow.
We increasing the car count just for you, Bunty.
I just want to know why am I in this.
Jared, that's really mean.
You know why you in it? You know why you in it? I don't care. You part of it.
I was about to say something real ugly.
Really? Oh yeah.
We bringing back the real NASCAR.
You ain't even gonna qualify. That's
bringing back my heritage. 43
Just-
cars out there.
Hey, Jared, just
You got a Toyota Camry with some pace lights on. It's gonna beat you. You got two AMR safety vehicles. That's gonna beat you. You got some ambulances.
Hey, Arthur and Jared, I'm letting us know. Once NASCAR 25 comes out, both of you suckers will be wrecked.
Doug.
You gotta stream that on Twitch.
The internet knows that I beat you already in F1.
That's F1. That's a different game.
Smoke in stock car racing, sir. I'm trying.
Stock car racing. No, I ain't gonna say, man.
I don't even have a wheel. You can get this work on these sticks.
I don't have a wheel either. I'll get the sticks too.
All I'm
just
gonna
be
say
ready because
is
you be right.
2023 Las Vegas Stage 2 Lap 95. That's gonna be out.
How to?
And
Really?
if you don't know,
Really?
if you know, look, if you know, you know. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Like, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate y'all for listening. Appreciate y'all for following us. Be sure to tell your mammies and your Grammys to follow us on Twitter. We're almost at 800. As soon as 800 comes, you get this GOAT prize pack featuring gifts from Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, our beautiful partners at Home Field Apparel. Got some items in there for y'all. Everybody can win. All of you who follow us, outside of the select few who will not be named because you can't. You too close to the house. You too affiliated. Gang. You can't win. But everybody else, be on the lookout. If you get a random DM from Victory Lane Vibes podcast, just know your life just got better.
Did y'all see the tweet I put up over the weekend on the pod account? I was like, while all of his other co-hosts were sleeping in bed, Art was on eBay buying more things for the giveaway. 8 a.m. Saturday morning, I'm up there grinding in these eBay streets for the people. And I won them auctions too, best believe. So I got mailman
them lots, baby.
Lucky you.
PayPal and Ford. Appreciate y'all.
What you mean, lucky me? This is for the people. This ain't for me. I don't.
This isn't for us, Bond.
I don't. Yeah, I know that.
It's for the people.
I just want to get on Art's nerves, but I know.
I'm so
Getting
generous.
on mine at this point.
Cut him off. Kick him out the lab.
You know, we're cut. Thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, we will see you later this week. Thank you again for Kiana and Peyton for experiencing heat stroke to bring us your takes. We hope that you go take ice baths, and we see you soon. We're gonna have a wild
I got a great
episode.
tan though.
A wild
Thank
episode
you.
for Chicago. I feel like Chicago's gonna be off the rails if it doesn't rain. So, looking forward to recording that with you guys. And with that, see you Friday.
Friday.
Hey, ooh, while we're outroing, play some debate music right here. Go ahead, Jerry. You
Like
got
news
that.
music.
Yeah, it's some debate music. Gotta tease the people. Give them
I'm
something.
gonna play some.
Hold up.
Here's a story about a man, a simple man, a man with a dream to do the world some good. Here's a story for rich and poor.